Hey, it's Bitty Penny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm playing with my jelly plate, but don't worry if you don't have a jelly plate, I'm going to show you an alternative. But I am playing with my jelly plate and watercolors. This was a first for me. I've always used acrylic paints on my jelly plate, and so I just wanted to play around with some watercolor. I also brought in some mica sprays and really just had some fun. What I'm creating today are painted pages for my journals. So I wanted to come up with some ideas for making beautiful journal pages without printables. I know a lot of people, either don't have a printer that they want to use for this or aren't really comfortable with the whole world of printable art. And so I wanted to come up with some ways where you can use supplies that you have or may have to make your own artistic pages to go into journals. So I kept going with the same concept. So I'd put paint like in the top right corner of this jelly plate, the bottom left corner, basically on diagonal corners, I would paint those just by splattering colors together like a blue and a red, and then that way where they meet, you'll get a purple, or I just did a whole variety of different colors, but I kind of kept it to two, and two colors that would blend well. So think of your primary colors and your secondary colors, and or play with a color wheel and get creative. But I'm just, if you will, ink smushing is something that a lot of card makers are comfortable with when they play with their inks and smush it down on the paper. So it's kind of the same concept, but I'm using 8.5 by 11 mixed media art paper here. And I'm also, while all of that wonderful watercolor is absorbing on one side, then I'm lining the other side, and these are intended, these pages are intended for writing on. So this is like having lined paper to write on. Now it's wonky lines because they're hand painted, but I've been using them in my journal and I love them. So I sat down one morning bright and early. If you know me, I'm up at 4 a.m. sometimes so that I can fit in a little crafting before my day gets going. And I made about 10 or 15 of these pretty quickly. I mean, it was fast. Okay, so here I'm going to play around and not use a jelly plate. So I just grab an acrylic block and I'm just going to be smearing some watercolor on here. Now, obviously, most of the pages I created today were very vibrant. Oh, especially this one. It's really got a lot of vibrancy to it. Look at that purple and blue. It's just amazing. I find that when it comes to watercolor, I really just like to mix my own purples. When I try to use a purple that's already pre-made or pre-mixed, I don't know, they just don't come out as well for me as when I mix them myself. So I did a lot of my own mixing here. And yeah, I think that these essentially with the acrylic block give me the very much a similar look as the gel plate. So don't be discouraged if you don't have a gel plate and you want to give this a try. So I'm doing a lot of smushing on one side and then I turn it over. I'm totally not worried about that paint that seeped onto the back because, I mean, it just matches these artsy pages. So don't worry about that. But if that is something that bothers you, then consider working with, like a sheet of paper behind it, or working in a cleaner manner than me. I was just playing around and getting watercolor everywhere. Okay, so I let all of my pages dry, And then as they were drying, I went through my stamps and I just grabbed different ones that I thought might be fun to stamp over these pages. So I really love this stamp set, and I don't know who made it or what it's called. All of that information is no longer in the packaging. It's a mystery, but I really love it. They're red rubber stamps, and I just love their detail. I love detailed stamps like this. You don't have to color them in, especially with a technique like this. So I would just inked it up, and then I let that one just kind of sit there and rest and let the ink transfer while I stamped down the other. And I got great impressions, of course, red rubber, right? And I love the way those look. Now I would also do the back, because when these are folded up and put it in a journal, these pages are going to be separated by many other pages. So they won't turn the page and see the fronts and backs of these unless it was in the center of your signature. And I really just like how these all tied together. I loved all the variety and the colors that I came up with today. And, you know, I really just tried to make them, well, I wanted to play with all these different stamp sets. So they're all very different from one another. They're not in a particular theme per se, but they've been fitting well with the types of journals that I make. So that is, you know, an aspect that you could keep in mind. Like if you're in the middle of making a floral journal or a nature journal or a butterfly journal, like when you're selecting your images to stamp on them, you might keep those things in mind. You don't have to do images. You could do a lot of different sentiments. I think that would be so much fun, and I'll definitely be playing around with that in the future. I have so many stamp sets, period. And then I have a lot of sentiment stamp sets. I'm always a sucker for sentiments. And so I did use one sentiment. I just used this one today, but I could see where it would be fun to make some of these watercolor pages with like different stamps of encouragement or friendship, or if you're making like a coffee themed one and you had a bunch of coffee themed sentiments, anything goes. This page is really fun. I actually put this in my niece's journal. So if you guys saw on Monday, I released a video showing a flip through of my niece's journal, and that's where this page went. I love her, so I had to put the heart page in there. I really like how this turned out. It's a really interesting ink, like color choice for the ink, but it worked. It's kind of different to go with the purple, but it did work. And this paper is the inexpensive paper from Blick Art Supply. So it's like $5.99 for 100 sheets or more of mixed media paper. And it's amazing. I absolutely love it. I've been painting on it with gouache, watercolor. I've used ink, and it doesn't even bleed through. This is the paper of champions, and especially if you like journal making, I would highly recommend it. I've been making sketchbooks. I made sketchbook for my nephew for Christmas, and he's already been drawing in it, and he said he draws with pencil and charcoal, and he said that this paper is just really good. He really liked drawing on it. So I highly recommend it. I think this was my favorite out of all of them. I loved the softness of these colors, and it has a whole lot of metallic and mica that you can't really see. And then I stamped these trees, and I just really liked these pages. I don't know. They were lovely and soft. I will definitely be doing this more and more. And I like that it was a fun and free process, and I could turn out the pages quickly and just play with color. Like if you're trying to learn color theory, if you're trying to learn more about your watercolor palettes and which colors mix and what colors they make, I think this would be a fun project to play and explore that more. And then you could just take the pages that you've made and find a place for them in your junk journals. So this one was probably my least favorite, but it's all good. No worries about that. It'll still find a home. I'm just sure of it. So from my least favorite to my favorite. Oh man, I love this one. I really do. And on the back, I played a little bit with creating like ombre. So if you started with your color light, you could go and then add more pigment to it throughout creating those lines. You can get a light to dark, or if you start with a very concentrated color at the top and then continue to add water to it, then you could go from dark to light. But I did play with that a bit and have some ombre pages as well. You can tell there's a little bit of impression from my lines on the back here, but I don't think that that stayed. I'm pretty sure that that has kind of just balanced itself out and is fine now. I mean, this paper's gonna have a little natural wave to it, but I don't know a paper that doesn't. So here's how this one turned out. So much fun. I hope you guys enjoy this idea. It's just another way to get pages within your journals that you don't have to necessarily worry about copyright. You don't have to, tear up other books or have printables. Just depending on where your comfort levels are with creating these journals, or if you just really want like an artsy journal, I think that these are great pages for that. I'm trying to show y'all the mica. It collected in such an interesting way. And I've used these so far in 3 journals. And the journals were completely different themes, and they really worked. So yeah, I think it's a versatile idea. It has a lot of potential. So I wanted to share it with you guys. I'm going to have some more ideas for you coming out of other ways that you can make junk journal pages with 6x6 paper pads and some other pocket pages and different things using scrapbook paper and patterned paper. So keep an eye out. And then I also have journals to share with you guys that I made with these pages. Thanks so much for watching. I know some of you are really enjoying this content, and I'm so glad you are, because I'm enjoying making it and sharing it, and just so looking forward to all the new horizons and exploring our art supplies in 2022 and smashing our stash. I just can't wait. So thanks so much. I hope you guys have a really wonderful day, and maybe you'll make some painted papers today. See you next time. Bye.